Thanks, Beta, and hi everyone. It's really good to see you here. Thank you for joining, and welcome to our session on digital learning for community-based research and social innovation. I'm excited to be joined by my colleagues Ben Lau, Michael Mugambe, and Sharon Kalima. So the four of us will be leading this session together. And so I'm just going to give a brief introduction of what the session will contain, and then we'll get started. So of course, we've all experienced the disruption of the past year and the need to kind of embrace digital forms of gathering and community and learning. And so through this session, we're going to present sort of two main ways that we've all been involved in doing this over the past year. So the first is a research project, a digital-based research project, which supports and amplifies community-based organizations, critically informed research, and social innovation through their work. And the second is using digital participatory theater as a way of enacting praxis across distances and working with communities specifically to generate new insights and to work together towards social change. So to introduce all of us here, my name's Alex Knott. I'm a co-director of Amprakash. As a co-director, I help to lead Amprakash as we pursue the mission of facilitating relationships and dialogue amongst our network of about 200 partner organizations. So these are grassroots social change organizations working in about 50 countries, as well as students and researchers around the world. And so today we're going to start by presenting the case study, one of our projects, which is called GEDLSID for short, and stands for Gender Equality, Digital Learning, and Social Innovation Across Differences. So this is a multi-year transnational action research project, which involves 4 Amprakash partners in Malawi, Nepal, Kenya, and Mexico, as well as scholars and practitioners from the University of Illinois and University of Ottawa. And a brief overview is that this project really aims to challenge the dominant paradigm of North-led research by blurring the common divide between research, which is typically undertaken by scholars in the global North on the one hand, and then action by community-based organizations in the global South. So this project is funded by a grant from the Canadian government, and we're using digital learning to support social action, to support action research with these 4 grassroots organizations that focus on gender equality. So overall, yeah, this project is kind of asking how critical action research unfolds across diverse social contexts and in relation to transnational flows of resources, knowledge, and power. So here, Ben Lau is the Director of Social Innovation at the Gies College of Business at the University of Illinois, and is one of the scholars collaborating with us on this project. So Ben is going to begin by sharing his reflections as a researcher involved in the GEDLSID project, and on particularly talking about the learning potential of these sorts of digital North-South collaborations. We're then going to hear from Sharon Kalima, who represents Art and Global Health Africa, or for short, ArtGlow, which is a community-based organization in Malawi. And Sharon is going to share her experiences being involved in this program and innovating in response to COVID-19 through her participation in the program, and particularly in terms of adapting their gender-based training program from what was previously an in-person to an online format. So Sharon's going to share a bit about how being involved in GEDLSID has supported this innovation process, and also we'll touch a bit on how they've used participatory theater in this program as well. Which brings us kind of to the second part of our presentation. So both within and beyond the GEDLSID project over the past year, we at Amprakash have been engaging in digital participatory theater with our students and partners in a variety of settings. And Michael Mugambe, who's also here, works with Amprakash as a mentor for our students, and is also a director of a nonprofit organization that's an Amprakash partner. And he has extensive experience using participatory theater as a tool for community-based praxis. So after we hear from Ben and Sharon about the GEDLSID project, Michael is going to lead us all in a participatory theater workshop to demonstrate the potential for these kinds of tools, just to kind of spark community-led social transformation, and also generate meaningful insights for community-based research. So before we get started and kind of jump into the GEDLSID part of this, Michael is going to lead us in a brief warm-up exercise. I'll hand over to Michael.
Hello, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are. I understand we are all coming from different parts of the world. That's so fun. My name is Michael, again. And let's do some warm up before we start our session. It's absurd we do not have you on video, but wherever you are, let's just do some exercises. We are going to start with the head and go down. Let's start with our head. Just ride your fingers, your fingertips through your hair from the front to the back. From the front to the back. We don't want those wrinkles in your face. Very good. Down to the scalp, not to the top, if you want to feel it well. Okay, now use the sides of your palm, your pinky side, to do this away from your face. Take away all that morning stress. Okay. So with your fingers, lock them in and turn your hands the other way, then push. Let's get those sounds out of those bones. Let it click if you're able to feel it. Like you are stretching. And now with your hands, let's just do this just to ease the stress in our hands. Probably you've been writing. And then shake it off. Shake it off. I know if you've been sleeping, you must be awake right now. Alex, should we go through an introduction?
Yeah, thanks, Michael. So now we're going to hand over to Ben for the GEDLSID introduction.
Okay.
Thank you, Alex. Thank you, Michael. And I have to say that Alex already did a great job introducing the GEDLSID project, so I'll make this pretty quick. Just to say, it's been a pleasure to work with Amprakash partners and Amprakash on this project. As she mentioned, it's a research practice collaboration and it's action research. So it's not something that often as academics we spend a lot of time doing. We're really interested in the practice components and how that practice translates to actual changes in programming. So this, again, is a research collaboration between scholars in the global north mostly and scholars in or practice organizations in the global south mostly, but also involving a lot of mentors and research assistants across different geographic divides. The themes, as Alex mentioned, are around gender equality, social innovation in practices, digital learning, and then transnational flows. Again, that was a bit of a bigger theme, I think, before COVID. Not a lot of transnational physical flows right now, but clearly a lot of transnational digital flows happening across the globe. The core features of this project, which again is funded by the Canadian government, but ultimately led by Amprakash and their partners, is that the research priorities are defined by the partners themselves. One of the things that I appreciated about our partnership initially with Amprakash is that we had this money, we came to Amprakash with these ideas around a proposal, and they basically pushed back and said, no, that won't work because it's not bringing enough value to our partners. So that led to a future discussion where partners came together, defined priorities, and that's where the research project is right now, based on the discussions from partners. And I think that really reflects the tone of this project as well, which has been really led by the needs of the practice organizations. This project also uses the Amprakash Edge learning platform in terms of both digital learning and transnational flows for the education piece. And it's about research to practice or practice. So the three main outcomes, this is my last slide, is really to build capacity around research, to develop both partners' professional research capacities, and I think to also engage scholars in the practical application of research. It's also to understand and experiment with new models and methods of evaluating and monitoring partners' work. So using research to think about evaluation and how that can be both improving their practice, but also communicated through different publications or outlets or blogs or things like that. The last one is to enhance gender equality programming through the ongoing cycle of praxis. And so I think one of the things we will learn today in practice is around participatory theater as a method of praxis, and how that can be used to inform then the partners and our knowledge of how gender equality programming can be enhanced through digital learning, through engagement in practice. So that's it. And I'm excited. I don't know actually a ton about participatory theater, and so I'm quite excited to get engaged today with this group and to see it in practice.
Thanks, Ben. And now we're going to hand over to Sharon to talk a bit about the MAWA Edge program that they've been innovating through the GEDLSID program.
Hi, everyone. Hi, everyone. Alex has already introduced me. I work at Adran Global Health Center Africa, which is a partner organization to Amprakash. So I'm going to talk about the Make Art for Women's Activism project, particularly how we have adapted it to digital learning. I'm not sure if you're all able to hear me. There's a bit of background noise.
Yeah, sounds good.
Okay, all right. Thanks so much. So I'll briefly introduce Adran Global Health Center Africa. And we harness the power of the arts to nurture creative leadership and ignite both conversation and action. In all our programming, we use participatory arts. So far, we've got 3 main programs that are running, and arts is the core part of everything that we do. And under one of the programs is Make Art for Sustainable Action, which uses participatory film, theater, and also performing arts to inspire both conversations and actions for some of society's biggest challenges. We've worked on different projects such as HIV/AIDS, gender-based violence, and also nutrition. So under Make Art for Sustainable Action, we've got Make Art for Women's Activism, which is the project that we're currently implementing. And its aim is to improve the lives of women and girls by challenging patriarchal social norms and mainstreaming women's empowerment through improved prevention of violence against women and girls, and also to make sure that there are changes in behavior, practices, and attitudes. So what we're aiming to do is, what exactly we're doing is we're building the capacity of civil society organizations, especially those that are grassroots, so that they're able to design and deliver effective violence against women and girls programs, and also sexual and reproductive health programs. that are relevant to their local context and communities. So what they do is after we train them, they go into their communities, research about the particular things or problems that exist in their communities. And then they design projects that are relevant in their context. So initially, how we had designed the project is to have face-to-face trainings with the grassroots organizations. But due to COVID, the possibility of proceeding with the face-to-face engagements was greatly challenged because of all the measures that had been put across. So the MAWA team, so Make Art for Women's Activism, in short, we call it MAWA. The MAWA team piloted an adaptation of the existing workshop model into a digital engagement model. And we were really lucky enough that Om Prakash helped us with this process. So we used the Edge platform, which is supported by the by Om Prakash. So under the MAWA online cohort, what we did was to adapt the existing curriculum into the Edge platform. And then we recruited a new different cohort, which we call the online cohort, which we use the Edge platform and for them to do their readings and assignments. It's a very interactive space. Alex is going to share her screen so that you can just take a look at the space, the Edge platform space. And then these are also complemented by live sessions where we discuss in depth of the issues that were on the Edge platform. And the good thing about this is it's a space where we give the participants assignments, they're able to interact, they're able to comment, and they're able to also like comment on each other's replies and answers. So I really like the engagement that goes on in the Edge platform. And after the training, the online training, then they're going to prototype their ideas in their communities, and then they're going to implement their projects. So 3 members of our team, Bosco, Caroline, and I, are part of also the GEDLSID project, which Ben and Alex have also mentioned. So our main aim for how we've designed the GEDLSID project, our research project as Art Globe, as the team from Art Globe, we're going to explore our processes of innovation in ending violence against women and girls through the examination of the MAWA project. So we're going to do this in 2 parts, but particularly we're very interested in the online cohort because that is the one that we have actually used the digital innovation. And our project focus is we're really going to focus on what are the drivers of the innovation in the MAWA project. As I've already explained that we had to migrate to the online space because of COVID. So we're going to focus on what are the drivers of the innovation in the MAWA project. And also one of the things that we're also going to focus on is what have been the barriers to innovation in the project and how has the project team responded to this. So the good thing about this is also we've been working hand in hand with the Om Prakash team. So they are there with us throughout the way. They have helped us adapt the curriculum. So even in the delivery of the training, if there's a problem or if there's something that we need to adapt, they're there to help us. So we're also going to look at the barriers to this specific innovation. And the other thing that we're also going to focus on is what are the perspectives of the end users of the innovation. So here we're looking at the grassroots organizations that we're training. So we're going to look at the effectiveness, the areas that worked well, and what hasn't worked well, so that we can see what the challenge was and how can we adapt it in future, and which areas we would like to improve on. And then lastly, we're also looking at the potential for scale up of innovation, and what are the determinants of its successful implementation and effectiveness. So just to take you through the methods of inquiry, like how exactly we're planning to do this. Obviously, we're going to start with interviews with the project team members that were involved in the innovation, so the adaptation and also the delivery of the training, just so we can understand, just so we can gain an understanding on the backgrounds to the innovation. And also, we're going to interview the CSO leaders, the grassroots CSO leaders, and also the participants that we've trained, so that we can gather contextual information surrounding the implementation of the innovation. As I've explained, after the training, they're going to prototype their ideas as well. So this is the time that we're now going to go face to face, even though it's an online project. Once they start prototyping their ideas, we're going to have like face to face interactions with them and visiting their, attending their interventions. So we're also going to have brainstorming sessions with them, just to see how their projects and their prototypes are going. So we're going to review the brainstorming meeting notes and also recording whatever is being discussed. I've also mentioned this, that we're also going to attend the interventions and also just making observations, so on how they're actually using or applying the trained artistic participatory approaches. And lastly, we're also going to engage with those that participate in the interventions. These are like the audience members themselves, and seeking feedback. And also, we just want to capture like their perceptions on the interventions. And lastly, just to close up, let me just share the importance of this project, the Ghetto SID project, to us. We've seen that if we were just waiting for COVID to end, which hasn't happened, it's been a year, and if we were just waiting for COVID to end, we wouldn't have gone anywhere. But just the fact that we've had this opportunity to adapt this training into an online space has really helped us, like for some of our milestones, and having like an online cohort and a new experience. So I believe that the findings from this research project would be helpful for other social impact organizations that are seeking to innovate and adapt their programming to an online environment, especially in the area of gender-based violence. And we've already had amazing feedback from our participants, because some of them have also adapted and moving online to some of their programming while they're waiting for the COVID situation to end. And also, it's going to be helpful for our own organization and programming as well, because it's going to help us in our learning, in future adaptations of the project, and also other programs. Yeah, briefly, that's what we're looking at in the MAWA project, especially the online cohorts. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Sharon. And so now we're going to be shifting towards participatory theater. So the remainder of our session is going to be led by Michael, and will be around participatory theater.
Thank you, Alex. Today we are going to do it a little bit differently, just because of time. We would like to respect the time. Literally, there are steps that are always followed before we come to the final piece of making a play. Engaging the community or mobilizing the community as being the first step, learning about the community problems being the second step, and this is always done as a community, so through efforts of probably meeting together and talking about the problems that communities are facing. In this context, it would be probably domestic violence, and at the end, using the community experiences to create plays or to create a piece, which is later presented to the community itself for them to engage in dialogue about it, about the problems, and ending with creating solutions, which solutions should be sustainable and able to be followed up. And with this kind of process, we believe that the community as owners of the problems should be the owners of the solutions. But this time we have an already done piece that we extracted from one of the pieces we have conducted the past year with the Om Prakash partners. And I'm inviting you to watch it before we engage into dialogue. Alex.
So in this video, we'll be presenting a scene of conflict and then working to transform it together. So to set the scene a little bit, Ali and Katie, who will be playing the actors in this scene, are at their own home during quarantine and are roommates. I will be playing the moderator, also known as the Joker, and Michael will be a spectator. So let's begin the scene.
Let's move on to the next slide. Okay, this is the really important one. Yeah. Yeah, that sounds good. Yeah, sorry, I think I might have to go. There's a baby crying. I'm sorry, I can't. Yeah, can we do this again in a little? Okay, yeah. Bye. Julia.
What's up?
The baby is still crying. I told you this was a super important call.
I'm not crying. What do you want me to do about it?
Like, I need to work. You know this. We've talked about this. And my job is really important. I have this huge meeting next week, and I just need to nail it.
I've been up all day with this child. I fed her at the normal hour. I put her down for a nap. I have no idea what to tell you. I'm under quarantine. Where do you want me to take her?
I just don't understand why she needs to cry so much. Like, what are you doing wrong?
She's an infant, Irene. She's an infant.
Okay, I know that, but like—
That's self-centered.
Well, I'm self-centered. I'm the one who's working the job that's making more money, and that's how we're getting by right now.
Oh, cool, neat. Yeah, because raising an infant is no labor. I just do it for fun. I don't work at all.
I'm not saying that, but like, I told you how important this was.
What do you want me to do?
I don't know. Like, I don't know. Can you feed her something different? Turn on the TV? I don't know.
Turn on the TV. Yeah, okay, I'll go try and put her in front of the TV. A 5-month-old baby. We'll see how that works.
Okay, whatever.
And end scene.
Thank you, Alex. Thank you, Alex. I would like to invite you back, and that's one of the pieces we did last year when we were tackling COVID-19 as an issue in families, as a cause of conflicts in families. And I'm glad that this topic aligns a little bit with what our colleague Sharon and everyone else as our partners are doing in regards to conflicts against women, violence against women. I would like to invite you to reflect on this piece, what has transpired or taken place and relate it to our lives. You are free to unmute, because now this is a conversation, it's a dialogue, and I'm inviting everyone to this space. Please feel free to unmute. Hopefully we won't get a lot of background noise. What did we just watch?
I guess I think that, in these times, it's not an unusual thing for roommates, for partners, for people who have to share the same space and maybe haven't had to negotiate that in the past, to really be entering new territory where, they really haven't had to navigate this space before. So I think what I saw was people probably learning how to exist in a space where they really haven't had to be in the past and get along.
Thank you, Ben. Do you have any other input?
We also have a comment in the chat from Quentin Evans, says, it was an excellent example of a conflict of needs colliding.
Oh, thank you very much for that. And you can also write in the chat if you cannot speak, but feel free to unmute yourself and tell us what you just watched in this piece. Willie, would you like to? I'm sorry, calling you out.
No, that's okay. I mean, I unmuted just to be part of the conversation. I have a small child myself, and so my partner and I have been acting out that scene in many different forms over the last year. Among other things, I thought a really interesting part of the scene is the sort of comments around what counts as work and how that has been gendered, and how a lot of housework or care work, which is often women's work, is frequently considered not as important as other kinds of compensated labor. So that's one interesting thread here.
Thank you. Any one last input before we go in to the next stage or another question? I saw Emily had unmuted before, Willie. Yeah, another question would be, does this exist in our communities? I understand Willie related it with, you related it with your partner and the conflicts you go through. I'll call them conflicts because these are minor conflicts and they happen in our society. But I would like to hear from others. Does it happen in our society, or did we experience it last year? And you are free to type and share through the chat.
I definitely have experienced similar things, although, you know, I didn't have an infant in my house. I was sharing a home with my sisters through quarantine, and I think, yeah, we kind of had similar quarrels over internet bandwidth and who gets the quiet space for a call versus a class, and so it was definitely familiar to me. I'd also be curious to hear from Sharon from doing this work in communities in Malawi, whether this kind of conflict came up or maybe looked a little bit different.
But it definitely came up, especially, you know, with us. For example, we wrote a blog on when we were doing the one of the trainings on Prakash Edge. We had given an example of how I've got a little. It was literally the same the same scenario, which is funny, because I've got a little boy who was last year he was 3. He's turning 4 this year. And then just the fact that I had to balance everything from being a motherhood, managing being a mother, managing the house, and then when we transitioned to like to the online space, so having Zoom meetings and everything, it was fairly new to us, and especially to me because I had never had like online meetings and all that. So just to make sure that we're balancing everything and making sure that people in the house are giving me space, it obviously had some, it's posed some other challenges and conflicts. So it was a really interesting experience.
Oh, thank you for sharing, Sharon. And trust me, it doesn't differ from everyone else, including me, though I will not take time explaining or sharing my experience. With such events happening every single day, I would like you to go back to the piece that has been presented. What do you think would be done differently to create cohesion in this space or in this home for the family? Let's look at the mother who is trying to take care of the child, and then the partner or the house member who is trying to conduct business. And well, the source of income in the house, that call is super important.
Quentin put another comment in the chat that I think is relevant. saying building off Willie's insight, for me, it shows the prioritization of work, perhaps especially in Canada, tends to trump family needs in society's eyes.
Thank you, Quentin.
Maybe I'll just expand on that too. Michael, thank you for bringing that up. I do think, you know, at the very beginning of the scene, you watch the mother walk away, takes the baby, walks away. And I think that's indicative often of that valuation that I was just sort of mentioning in there, how it's not acceptable that this really natural, normal part of life is on screen and it's interrupting productivity and work and important money things. Whereas my hope would be that other cultures could teach us that it's as valuable and is actually as human and as real, and what we actually need to be embracing as much as our productive work time. So that's where I was going with that thought.
But Quentin, I wouldn't like us to or to overlook the fact that this is a super important call. And probably it's this call that is going to bring in income to feed the baby and the mom. So what are your thoughts about that?
Yeah, you know what? It's a great question, I guess, for me. And again, just snapshot into seeing that little scene. I think that's where we do it wrong. I think those moments with children and family are actually more important than the financial things. So again, that's just my perspective of where I'm coming from, that we actually have it a bit backwards. And the concept that, you know, money is important, I think we've seen, or certainly I've seen in the privileges of the West, that, you know, we are losing a lot of the fabric of family because we are overemphasizing the importance of money and work and income. Yeah, that's my take, Michael.
Okay, I'm going to task you more, Quentin. If you were to make a change to that scene, what exactly would you change? And how would you respond to your partner had you been the mom?
Really good question. I think there's two different parts of your question, Michael, that I guess I need to address. One is based on the scene, how I would address to the comments that the partner was the frustration that the partner was exuding. But I think that very first part of sitting and owning that, you know, a child crying is part of our reality now. And so how do we get more humanized? And so I think what I saw happen and what I saw unfold in that brief little moment was the partner started challenging the other partner around, you know, this was an important call. And I think, again, it was an expectation, perhaps an unrealistic expectation, that we're asking of people in the COVID era and digital era to act as though their reality is not reality, i.e. a crying baby is not a reality, or a crunch of space, of physical space isn't a reality, or a tech challenge of jumping, you know, all of a sudden we cut in and cut out isn't a reality. And I think we'll get a lot farther when we start embracing those realities and having a lot more compassion towards it. So I don't know how I would reframe it specifically to that partner, because I don't know the partner well enough, but I think I would hope that I would come from a place of love and being able to express that this a different perspective is maybe what would serve our family or our community in the better way.
Thank you very much. We are going to pause it right there a little bit and probably get one more input before we come back to what you just said. What's your take? I would like to give a chance to another person, to another participant or another spect actor. Let's reflect back to what we just watched and how we would make changes to the events that transpired in that family or in that home.
I think for me, it seemed like there was a lack of willingness to compromise, and it probably does seem like there was no area for compromise. To, you know, how they talk to each other. It was like, what can I do? I can't stop the baby from crying. and the other person was basically not even thinking about how they might reduce the noise. So there are, for example, microphones that reduce background noise, and it wouldn't be that hard to, maybe one of the partners could have purchased that for the other person. There's a lot of ways to resolve the conflict besides just saying, I can't change. And I think what I heard in that dialogue was a lot of, I can't change, this is how it is, deal with it, instead of, how can I actually really meaningfully help and change the situation.
If you were
Michael, oh sorry, yeah,
Yes.
go ahead, and then I've got another comment as well, building on what Ben has said.
Yeah, Ben, I would like to hear what you would say to the mother had you been the partner on that super important phone call.
Yeah, I think I would say, this is an important call to me, and I know it's a challenging thing, having the baby cry. Is there and I think I could probably ask about, are there spaces where, during this important call, you could kind of sequester yourself? I know that it's a short-term thing, it's half an hour or whatever. It's probably something I would say, but then I think from the other partner, I would probably also think about how can I help the other person so that the noise isn't disturbing? And that might be something like buying her, again, this a microphone or something that cuts out background noise.
Okay, right there. Thank you, Ben. Alex, I'm going to invite you on stage, and I'm going to give you the task of the mother right now. And Ben, you are the partner. We are going to react to this piece based on Ben's Ben's opinion. We would like to see, Ben, whether your solution can really work on Alex, whether it can change everything and probably create cohesion in this home and avoid a conflict. How would you respond? And we are starting the scene.
Hey, I'm gonna have to go. Hey, Alex, can we chat for a second?
Yeah, sorry, just a little busy though.
I know. It's a lot of work raising the kid and everything in this situation. I know we talked about how important this call was to me, and I'm wondering, what else we could do to fix that.
Yeah, I was gonna be in the bedroom, but then I realized she needed milk, and so I had to come out to the kitchen. And of course, our kitchen is attached to your workspace, and so I wasn't sure what to do. She was crying; she really needed her milk.
Yeah, I understand. Do you think this is going to happen pretty often, or is this a kind of isolated situation?
Yeah, I imagine it's going to happen pretty often until the child is maybe 4 or 5 years old.
I wonder what else we can do about that. I heard about these, these microphones that reduce background noise, and I don't have actually the money to purchase that right now. But do you think that's something that you could pitch in and help me out with?
Yeah, you're always saying that you're making all the money, and that's why I have to keep the baby quiet. So I'm not really sure where that money's going, if not to a microphone.
Yeah, I guess I could probably prioritize that. It is work, and this is an important thing for work. So maybe I'll purchase it. And also, is there anything I can do to help so the baby doesn't cry as much? Can we get a different formula or change the temperature of the room? I don't know babies that well, but is there anything else I can help with?
Yeah, thanks for asking. I think one of the things is just that I'm really tired, so I don't think I'm doing my best at all times to be able to help calm her down.
Yeah, well, we'll work on it together. I think we can probably find a solution.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Wow, and thank you very much, Ben and Alex. That was really great. What I'm getting from your scene is conflicts can be avoided if we remain positive and just offer help to each other than trying to put our interests above others or above other family members' interests or other things in our space and environment. That's what I'm getting. Had these two cooperated from the beginning, we probably wouldn't have had that conflict going on.
Yeah, I think there's an aspect of the first scene we watched that was, both people kind of getting defensive and that just like, the tensions continuing to rise. Versus, I think in this scene, I was trying to actually like stick with being somewhat annoyed. But Ben, stuck more with like trying to be calm. And I think that eventually brought me over. I'm also interested, I'm noticing there's stuff going on in the chat. Emily made a comment that this reminds her of Rich Dad, Poor Dad. It's not about I can't, but how can I? And actually, I'm not familiar with Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Emily, would you like to say more about that?
Yeah, so Rich Dad, Poor Dad, it's about a guy called, I forgot his name actually, but you can just Google it and you'll find it. And he had two dads. So the one was he was like a head of something at university, and he had a friend who was rich, and his French dad was rich. So what he calls his poor dad is his biological dad, and his poor dad would tell him, go to school and find a good job so that you can be happy. And his rich dad, like his friend's dad, would tell him, what you can, like, don't say I don't have money, say how I could make it. So for example, let's say, oh my God, I can't have a job and it's so difficult and I don't have money for that. Don't say I don't have money for it. Say, how can I make money for it? And it's all about the way you talk, the way you were raised. He was raised in a way to think that money is not evil, that you can just find ways to have it. And a job is not just like all of it, like you don't have only one route, like go to school and find a job. You can do investment, you can do assets and stuff like that. So in this case with the baby, it's not just like there's different solution as well. It's not like, oh, I can't do it because I have a meeting whatsoever, but it's all about like, hey, let's work together. How can we do it, kind of thing.
Wow, thank you very much, Emily. That was awesome. That was great. Alex, do you have any other question in regard to that?
No, I don't specifically. Thank you, Emily, for sharing that. I'm also noticing there's, oh yeah, there's other things going on in the chat too. Quentin says, great example, Emily, a power of a positive reframe approach in de-escalating conflict, which I think is really good, kind of showing how, often like, there's the saying like everyone has part of the truth, and I think with both people in a conflict, kind of seeing the other side of what someone's saying, you can actually get to a better place together by realizing kind of both sides of that, as Emily was saying. Sharon also says there was also a gap in communication. If they had talked about prior to the call, maybe the mother would have taken a walk with the baby or something.
Yeah, I think that's important, communication in the home. And yeah, is it feasible, or is the kid to be away? Why doesn't the partner take a call from somewhere else and not the house? Why should the woman and the kid always have to go out or create space for the partner to make a call? These are some of the questions that we can also explore. And I would like us to look at the partner and how sometimes tired they get and how helpless they become when the kids are crying. Sometimes you are not the kid. Sometimes the solutions they fail to work, and you don't know what the kid is asking for. You just have to try out stuff. I'm looking at centering this conversation on the mother and the baby. How do we help her besides just offering solutions? Let her walk away. I'm inviting you to open that conversation, centering it to the mother and the baby.
I mean, I think it's interesting if we do kind of what Quentin suggests, and kind of reprioritize in the scene, it actually completely shifts. And the question is no longer about like, how do we, you know, get the baby to be quiet so that, you know, the call can continue on, but it becomes like, how can we, you know, move the call or kind of like move workspace to fit around the baby and the mother's needs in this situation.
I agree. Any other input? Okay, probably no. Literally, this is how participatory theater works. If we're in the community, all these resolutions or solutions created by the community would be jotted out or would be written down and later read back to the community for them to agree, yeah, this is what we talked about. And then they can work on their sustainability. How do they follow up on these solutions? Assuming it's a conflict between communities. How do they follow up on these sustainable solutions to a particular conflict so that it doesn't happen again? At the end of it all, we create harmony in our lives, in our society, and in our environments. Before we end this session, I would like us to participate in a simple exercise, community poetry. Just write 2 or 3 words in the chat that define conflict, non-violence in the home or in the families or against women. 2 or 3 words. Yeah, Quentin just said, you matter, thank you. Thank you, Emily. Conflict to me, it's everything that causes tension. Ben is saying ego, masculinity, ignorance. Willie says challenge creates growth. More input. Oh, wow, that's nice. Conflict is progress and change. Yes. Yeah, more input. You can tell us about conflict. You can tell us about non-violence. You're welcome, Nash.
Oh, Nash, you're muted. We can't hear you. You're still muted, unfortunately. Oh, there we go.
I'm saying conflict is what people or women go through, the challenges that women go through.
Okay, thank you very much. Nash says it's what women go through or challenges women go through. Thank you. Yeah, let's get a few more inputs so that we can create our final piece as a community. Okay, Alex, do we have enough to work with?
Yeah, I actually also took notes throughout the whole session, so I have quite a long poem and I've fit all of these into it, I think.
That's great.
Shall I read it or how do we?
Please go ahead and read it.
Okay. So I've called this poem, The Challenges Women Go Through. Navigating new spaces, conflict of needs colliding, women's unpaid labor, enacting the same scene in various ways, balancing everything, give me space, prioritization of work, trumps family needs in the eyes of society. Takes the baby and walks away. She's interrupting important money things. Overemphasizing money and work and productivity, a child crying, is part of our reality now. How do we humanize? An unrealistic expectation. Is their reality not a reality? No space to empathize. Tech challenges, lack of space, rising tensions. Seeing both sides, power of a positive reframe. Solutions by the community, written down and read back. How do we follow up so that it doesn't happen again? At the end of the day, we create harmony. Conflict is progress and change. You matter.
Wow, thank you very much. I think that's a strong piece. Thank you, Alex. I cannot comprehend how strong and how that would change someone's life if we send it to them and they get to read it. Is it possible to share it with everyone, or you just wrote it on a piece of paper?
I wrote it on a piece of paper.
I wish we could share it with everyone so that they can go with a souvenir. Yes, thank you very much. We appreciate your participation in this participatory theater event. I now bring you back to Alex.
Yeah, thank you everyone so much. And thank you especially to Ben and Sharon and to Michael for really leading this session, and to all of you for participating, because yeah, participatory theater is just theater without the participation. So we really appreciate you all engaging with us on this, and hopefully it's been able to show you a little bit about how, you know, something quite simple can actually be used to create changes. I think I'm walking away with different perspectives on this, and I hope you are as well. And yeah, I'm sorry I didn't share the poem, but I guess that's just part of the nature of, you know, things that are ephemeral, like this session. So yeah, thank you all very much again for joining us, and please be in touch through Attendify if you want to get in touch or have any questions, but thank you.
Oh, can we share it on Attendify? And I think you can make a blog on Prakash website. They can come and visit and get access to this. It's yours because we created it together. It's for your community to have rights over this poem.
Yes, totally. I will try to see how Attendify works and try to share it there.
Well, you could also take a photo of even if it's like all scribbly, that'll make it even better.
I don't think it's legible. It's barely legible for me, but yeah. I'll try to see if I can upload it. Oh yeah, and Beta says we will have the recording, so it's not totally disappearing into thin air, what we've created today.
Thank you.
Thanks everyone. Enjoy the rest of the conference.
Have a good one.
Thank you.
Thanks, bye.
Bye-bye.